Today I'm going to be telling you a more edit-based cinematic making tutorial. In edits, you can do a lot more than you can do in in real life. So let's hop into replay mod and let's check some of this out. A lot of this, just disclaimer, goes for like all of the games. I'm talking about Call of Duty, Minecraft, Rocket League, pretty much anything. Anything that has a cinematic system, even Fortnite, you can use these tips in. So let's go ahead and hop into the tutorial. There is a bonus tip at the end of this video if you guys stick around. It's only for your Minecraft guys, so stick around for that one. Alright, so for your first tip, I'm going to be talking about power dynamics. So if you don't recognize these demos, by the way, this is from my latest edit right here. I took a shot right here. So let me talk about power dynamics, and I think this frozen part is a really good way to represent power dynamics. I'm gonna go ahead, not place a keyframe here, but I'm gonna go ahead and place a keyframe right here. So I'm right here, and now this is fine and all, fine and dandy. Now I'm gonna go ahead and slow it down to 0.1 speed. And something you might see me do right here is that I'm actually pausing it right where the feet are like splayed out. So this is something in COD, maybe Mortal Kombat if you do that. And I don't know if it applies for Rocket League if they have feet, but if that happens, when you kind of got this like foot in the area, it gives your character a little more depth and makes them feel like they're in motion. Many paintings in like late, medieval eras and whatnot, they like depict people in motion. And one way to do that is to make sure they're not standing so stiffly. So if your character is standing stiff, it doesn't really look like they're moving, even if they're moving in slow motion. And if they are moving, when you pause, when you end your shot on a stiff frame, then your guy looks kind of weird and it's like he's not moving. The bigger you make someone look, the cooler they look. So what I would recommend is you go below the character. Going below a character gives them more power, and more coolness is inherited from that fact. So when let's say I want to go like right here. This is a pretty basic shot, but I think it'll serve our purpose. So right now we can see my camera goes from there, my starting point, far away. You can't really see him, he's got no power, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to apply velocity, go super fast into right here, and now all of a sudden my guy has power. Now imagine there is a person over here who's got more power, the person approaching or the person up top here. Generally, you can make someone look more powerful when the camera's below them and you're up close to them. So let's go ahead and play this back, and it ends like that. It's a little glitch, so you can replay this to make the feet go a different animation. But as you can see, I've ended here and they give him much more power. Let's say I ended right here. It looks weird. From here it looks weird. Here it looks weird. Like, yes, this is like, you can see what's going on, but that's not the point of an edit. You're supposed to artistically express that, yeah, this guy is my main character. This is him. He's the cool guy. You could also go from here. This also is another way of doing power dynamics. You could also go from in front of them and let's say, and stand right here. And then as you can see, they're going into the scene with power. All right. You do it from here. Look at this. What is bro looking at on the bottom? Now, number 2 is movement. So there are a bunch of different ways you can move in a 3D plane. Mortal Kombat uses like a restricted 3D plane, I think, because if you turn around, it's like just blank space because you don't really see that in the game. In Minecraft, you have a full 3D range. So you have to, use this 3D range. You can look up and down. You can move up and down. That was not down. You can move left and right. You can move side to side. You can move diagonally if you want. These can be used in like 100 different ways. For example, just more movement allows you to have more control over your flow. Let's say I start from right here. When we play this back, yeah, okay, let's say that looks okay. Presume this is a really good cinematic or whatever. Unless I'm really showing this for like a split second, I really wouldn't see this being used in a montage or an edit because there's just not enough movement here. And now let's say I started all the way over here. Now, I know this is a bit of an exaggeration, but if I were to slow it down, you can see I have all this area to work with. And I can actually just cut my clip off. Let's say I wanted to just start it from here and go. Making your shots a little longer can give you more control in your editing software to make your clips more flowy, more better. You can just have more control over your shots. And I think that's something most editors would just wish they had when they're editing. You can also make cool, smooth transitions. For example, you can make like a rotoscope animation by going like, and then you cut this off. I've done that before, and it looked really bad because it was a really bad edit. But you can also go like, I saw this in an edit once. It was a scrap from someone. They like went to the side and they added a bunch of motion blur, and then they continued this movement into the next shot where they're like right here. Okay, so the next thing we have on our list, number 3 is rotation. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up a little. There is no rotation here, okay? I'm inside the block right now, but I don't really care. So I'm looking at it from a pretty objective standpoint. I feel like I'm a wildlife photographer right here, all right? I'm looking at the two deers fighting over food, and this looks really stupid, all right? You can actually do a clip like this. You can do like sort of something like this, and then let's assume this block's one here. You can go from here. Now that is something you can do. That's a perfectly valid way of doing that. But what you can also do is add some emotional value to your scene. And this keeps the viewer like invested in your shots by adding a little bit of rotation. By doing this, all of a sudden, now and you want to make sure like this type of rotation doesn't work well. Align this with like my bottom left foot, and now all of a sudden, this puts a little more intensity, a little more emotional stake. Like, you know, Dutch angles in film, when you have it can make something look really weird and creepy. It's like they're often extreme at a 45-degree angle and they look weird, but this is figures in motion, and it's a little different, especially in edits, as you can just kind of just give more intensity to a scene, more action, and as said in before, more movement. So you can do a spinning, rolling, like transition, like just for like the ending value, the ending position of your shot. It also matters a lot. And so when you have good rotation at the end, look at this looks so cool, but when I do it like this, it doesn't look quite as cool. So rotations can add a little more variety to your shot. Now, I just mentioned something really important called end position. It's super important. I think this is the most important one. If your end position sucks, I would scrap that cinematic right now, because like some people, like you can start your cinematic off like this, and it looks like bland, and it looks like straight up, and then move in to like an ending shot that I like. So we can go back to this shot. So what I can do is, okay, so when you take a look at this shot, it starts off a little mid, and it's gonna go through the block, by the way, and it kind of ends off in a good way. So it doesn't really matter how you start your clips. You could start here, you could start here. Make sure it's not something like imposing, like this big block. Make sure your focus is kind of in there, so you can kind of tell the motions there when you watch it through. If it's starting bad, you don't really have to care. But if it ends bad, that's really where you gotta like have some concern, because what if it goes like this and I end like this, and what the heck is this, right? All right, so now I'm gonna talk about something it's a little touchy subject, but it's called FOV. Y'all know what FOV is? This right here. You can have really high FOV. This is like if you're playing a game, or you can have really low FOV. Now, what's generally being recommended for like a while now is that people use like low FOV, and this is okay. I personally find that this kind of narrows in the focus way too much. I see a lot of beginners that are like, oh, people recommend, oh, use low FOV, so they're like, okay, all the way down to 30, and then they do this. And it looks okay, but it's like it's too focused, it's too cramped. All of a sudden you've cramped your shot now. So basically what I generally would recommend you do is go from a range of around like 45 all the way up to like 60, and maybe even 65 if you really want to. But I generally like to use 60. I've been using 60. I started using 60 like a little bit. It honestly works. I like the way it looks. You can get those cool, powerful shots where the foot is in the face, with like there's more power in this shot, or there's like just the right amount of focus, you know. And this is definitely a good FOV. I think 60's the best one for me, and you can go down to like 50 if you want to, and whatnot and so forth. I would never go to like Quake Pro for anything. If you're doing like a POV shot, you don't want to do 60. You don't want to do like 30. A range from like 75 all the way up till 90. So I use 85. That seems to work for me. Just like playing it through, this looks normal, this looks fine, and it'll look really good in your edit if you have the right FOV. I'd recommend staying in that 45 to 60 FOV range if you're using cinematics. Now this next one's gonna be a little hard to demonstrate, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to. So what I've done here is made a 3-point cinematic shot, and I don't know how it's gonna look, but let's go ahead and play this back and see how it does look. So here I'm using multiple keyframes. So here I had track him throughout this here, and I moved to another point, and my foot just got in his face, or other way around, and I just end the shot like that. And this is all one cinematic. Why does this matter? Why should you try to incorporate some multiple keyframes into your shots? One good thing about multiple keyframes is that using them can help the viewer kind of see from multiple angles. So you can go from here to here to here. Personally, I would do this a few times, you know, in a montage, because this allows you to have like those change in positions where you don't actually have to do like just 2 keyframes where it goes like here. From here it goes like I do one from here. Instead I have all 3 of those in one with smooth transitions between one, because they're all part of the same camera shot, and so you can see 3 different ranges of a view of a shot. Don't have to worry about making a smooth transition between each one. Now if you have Catmull enabled on replay mod, something you can do, so like let's say Catmull's like acting up and it tries to go inside the block, and no matter what you do it doesn't work. Let's say I didn't have this 3rd keyframe. What you can do is you can just render out this shot and then delete this portion and move your keyframes over, and then make a new keyframe for the second one. And now what you can do is take those both render clips and merge them together, and now you have one seamless clip. That's how I did the end of my montage, baby. All right, you should go watch that, by the way. Okay, and then the seventh and final thing I recommend that all of you do is just kind of make sure like you like it. If you don't like a cinematic, even if you're following all these rules, which that happens all the time, then I recommend just like tweaking with it, you know? If it's too fast, slow it down. If it's too like in the face, in the face it, you know? You know what I mean? If the FOV is too high, change the FOV. If you don't like the ending shot, then get rid of that last ending shot. So like, let's say I don't think this has enough movement. I'll move over here, and I can actually just go ahead and tweak it from right here. And now I have a whole nother cinematic. And it looks like trash. And like, let's say it goes through his foot right here, right? I can move my camera to where it is. You can do this on Call of Duty, I think, too, as well. And then just make a camera point here, and now all of a sudden, whoa. Look at that. It's out of his foot, and I didn't have to like replay it back at all. One last thing, if you've seen me, I have this one keyframe placed right here. Why do I have this one keyframe that is a time keyframe of all things? Why do I have it placed right there? Well, some of you may know, it's called a starting keyframe. So a starting keyframe, basically what the replay mod likes to do is it likes to like load everything. It's not showing up right now, but like basically what it'll do, it'll be like that. It'll like load everything in, you know? It'll do that, or like your characters will like fly in from the side. It's a lot worse on Badline Client, which is why I don't recommend using it. But to prevent that, you give your cinematic like a second of time just for like loading in your scene. And these are the starting keyframes. So if I play it in like this, you know, it plays seamlessly on that first frame. And you may have to cut it once. It might have a little like skin loading to do, but that's about it for like one frame. Okay, I know this video was a little sloppy. I haven't made a video like this in a while, but I think it was okay. If you like my new nav skin, smash that like button. And in the description, there is a super helpful Discord server. But there's a super helpful Discord server called Tenet Editing Academy, dog. Alright, I'm gonna be posting these videos. I'm gonna be posting basics tutorials here. You get notified about every single upload of these basics tutorials, and so you'll never miss one of them. Especially if you're trying to learn the basics, I will be uploading these tutorials. That being said, I'll see y'all in the next video. See ya.